Hi guys. In the previous video, I told you that fires stand for the power of nature. Fires are the antagonist or the enemy of the house. So the house tried to save itself, and that house continues mindlessly on the automated course. So the house keeps working, even nobody at home. The house tried to save itself. Doors sprang tightly shut, but the windows were broken by the heat, and the wind blew and sucked up on the fire. These lines show the results of the fire. Now the fire lay in beds, stood in windows. It changed the color of drapes. Drapes means curtain. Guys, don't forget to write here personification. Okay, because the author here personified fire as a man lay in beds and stood in windows. Now let's move to these lines. Now there were 20 snakes. Okay, you have to know that the event here took place in the attic, and the attic is the upper part of the house. Now there were 20 snakes. You have to ask yourself, snakes. Here we have metaphor. Why? Because snakes are chemicals, okay, sprayed by the attic. Because attic is getting burned, so it wants to defend itself by spraying snakes. So we have here metaphor because the author compared the chemicals to a snake. Okay, killing the fire with a clear, cold venom of green froth. So don't forget, here we have metaphor. Snakes are chemicals. Okay, now the fire was clever. So look at the characteristic of fire, and we have personification here. It had sent flame outside the house up through the attic to the pumps there. So the fire here is so clever. It can attack the house outside and inside. Okay. Now, the fire rushed back into every closet and full of the clothes hung there. Now look at these lines and write this note. These lines show the human qualities of the house. You have to know the author personified house, okay, as a human with body parts. The house shuddered, oak, bone, and bone. Here we have metaphor, oak, bone. The author compared bone to an oak. Bones, a skeleton, nerves, skin. You know that these are the body parts of a human. So you have to write this note, human qualities of the house. And write another note here, the conflict. Okay, when I ask you in the test what's the type of the conflict, you have to say external conflict between the character and nature. Fire, house. Okay? Um, there is no need to answer the question on page 138. It's not included. Okay? Let's move to page 139 and look at this question here. What inventions do we have today that mimic humans? Mimic, which means copy, let's say, or imitate. Computer and electronic games. Okay, and the first part of this question of this question, sorry, was answered on page 138. The qualities or the human qualities of the house here: skin, skeleton, nerves. Highlight these lines, and you have to know that the house continues the programmed actions, the time playing music, cutting the lawn by remote control, the opening front door with sublime disregard. You have to know that disregard means neglect or ignorance. For the situation, read poetry. Can you imagine that? The house is still working, reading poetry. Okay, so here the house neglected the fires. Okay, the house doesn't take an action to stop fires. Okay, so this is the answer of this question. Why is the house, look at you have to focus on this characteristic of the house. The house is beautiful. Okay, when it shows its sublime disregard for the fire, the answer is it continues the programmed actions. So because the house continues the programmed action, it makes it or let's say it shows it's so beautiful. Okay, let's move to the last page of the story here. And smoke and silence, a great a quantity of smoke. Let's say here that this is the end of the story. that the house turned into smoke and ash. Look at that question here. What idea about technology does Bradbury convey in the burning of the house? It must be controlled through human effort. So at the end, the message, okay, let's say the author delivers the message of that technology should be controlled by a human, okay. Let's move to page 142 and let's move to vocabulary here. Manipulate, which means operate, oblivious, not paying attention, paranoia, fear, silhouettes, shadow, let's say, sublime, scream, tremulous, which means let's say trembling or shaking. Let's move to the first one. Lion has overcome his and now enjoys social activities. The answer is one, paranoia. The cellist knows how to skillfully manipulate his instrument. My elderly great aunt walks in a tremulous manner. Jana enjoys winter activities and is oblivious to the cold. Critics agree that the artist's painting is her most sublime work yet. The young girl left a chalky silhouette of her hand on the sidewalk. Okay, now let's move to multiple choice here. Three functions the house performs here: cooking, cleaning, gardening. Which statement best describes the sequence of the changes the house undergoes during the story? First, the empty house carries out its programmed tasks. Then, a falling tree branch causes a fire. Finally, the house is destroyed after trying to save itself. What conclusion can you draw about the family and the relationship with the natural world? The family appreciates nature, okay, through the technological media. What is the theme or the main message? The main message here: technology is powerful but must be handled wisely.